Okay, I'm gonna start. Hey, this is Chris here with the Sausage Sports Club weekly update. Not a ton to talk about this week, but I'm gonna, instead of talking for an hour, this time I'm gonna talk a little bit and then go into just like working some more. As always, I like to start with why I do this and like what the format is. So this is basically a weekly look at what I did on the game and how I'm feeling about it leading up to launch. And I do it for three reasons. One, I think it will be useful for students and new game developers and stuff, just to see like what the process is like for making a commercial game. Two is like obvious marketing. If I don't talk about the game, no one's going to hear about it. And then three, I think in 5 or 10 years when I look back on these streams, it'll be cool to see what my process was like and how it's changed over time. Maybe this will teach me a lot, or maybe I'll get into some bad habits and be able to look back and like pick up some old practices that I did now. That said, let's just get right into it. So this week was kind of a weird week. It was a continuation of last week where I was like preparing for some marketing stuff, preparing for PAX, which is coming up. So I'll show you the new demo flow that I made for PAX, which is basically just like a weird version of the game where instead of everything being open and you being able to do whatever you want and unlocks happening, there's like all the characters and hats are unlocked from the beginning, but you kind of play through each of the arenas in succession, and only a few of the modes are unlocked from the start. So it's a little weird. I'm also going to talk about a little update I did to the website. It's still not great, but it was necessary to make it not look shitty, and it still looks a little bit maybe unprofessional or a little bit less good than a commercial game website might, but I'm slowly getting there. And I'll show you some like different shaped marketing assets I had to make, just because that's not something people talk a lot about. There's often you have to make press assets at like tons of resolutions, and sometimes like there are weird requests for showcases and stuff. So I'll show you that, and then you can see on my screen here I've got this book, and that's for this thing, which I'll talk about, which is the unlock hall. And then to close out the stream, I'll talk about the dialogue system a little bit and some ways I'm going to improve it, with making the characters a little bit more lively and giving them I might try this, and it might be too Uncanny Valley, but I'm going to try giving them like blend shapes so their mouths move, and I'm going to do that at the end of the stream. I'm going to go through the different character models and start doing that. So let's look at the demo flow first. And before I do that, I'm going to just pop open Twitch chat so I can reply. Pop out. Okay. Gonna ignore Twitter for now. Okay, let's bring that back. Okay, let's look at this demo flow. Picks. The audio, as you do. So this change to the demo is based on some feedback I got. where the person testing the game was like confused about what they were supposed to do in the demo, and they were hoping that there'd be some kind of flow that would let people kind of play through a little bit more in a little bit more structured way, so they knew what to do and they weren't confused, and they didn't have to spend like mental cycles at the show just like figuring out what the game was. Even it's better to be guided through a little bit. So the idea is you start in the bug museum. It's kind of the simplest arena to figure out what's going on. It just looks like a museum or a library, and there are bugs flying around. You can sort of ignore them, and to have this character at the start of the game to kind of bring you in and show you like this game's about cute animals, and there's gonna be some dialogue. They're gonna talk to you, and then another weird thing about the game is that you select the mode you want to play in the arena, but in this like mode select where you're not actually playing a game. There's just like trophies that let you select the mode, and I had the dialogue tell you that's what you're doing here, and then you can see these trophies. So then you go in and do the team setup. I'm not going to play a whole match, but oh, my controller came unplugged. There we go. Boom. Yeah, so this took me a little bit this week to just get this flow set up. I didn't really have structure built to like force this kind of thing into the game. And yeah, it also, like I mentioned, it forces you to go to the next arena once you beat the first arena. So it takes you to the aquarium next, and then it unlocks a few more game modes. Pop in there. Next one, and then after this it'll take me to the last arena, or not the last arena, but the last arena in the demo, which is the junkyard. And then once you beat the junkyard, then the demo fully opens up and you can go back to the menu and pick whatever you want to do, now that you know what the game is and you're not really confused about what's going on, or not as confused. At least I suppose people might still be confused. So that's that's the flow. Setting this up was basically like in a bunch of places in the code where previously I would, like if I do just like beta, what that looks like is you go to the menu and then you log into character select, then you log into the arena, and all the arenas are there. Basically at different points of the game flow, I had to go in and say like, instead of taking me to the menu, just like load into this first arena. And then once you finish a match and you get that like next mode screen, instead of giving me a button that says go back to the menu, I just want a button that says next arena, and it just like pops me over to the next arena. So there were just a few places in the game, like flow logic, where I had to just add. I have a debug flag that I can set in the editor that's like, is this PAX demo mode? And when it hits that point in logic, it's like, if it is PAX demo mode, do this thing, and if it's not, then go on as usual. So that's what that did. And this is probably obvious if you're a game developer and you've gone to shows or you've shipped games, that this is the kind of thing you would do for a PAX demo. But if you're new, this may not be so obvious that this is how you do it. You might, if you didn't think of this as a way to approach this problem, you might just like entirely change your game logic and write over it, and not make it a toggle that you can change over here in the, in my settings like this. That's PAX demo. Let's look at the website. This is it. It's pretty simple. It's just like big description, just features list, and then the new trailer. I haven't announced this trailer, so people aren't looking at it yet, but I figured I'd put it on the website in case people in case once I go to PAX, I don't have time or I forget to update the website. I figure I'd just do it now. And we've got link to Steam, link to PressKit, and mailing list, which hardly anybody signs up for. I get a lot more signups for the Steam wish list. Does this not work? That's interesting. This is good that I'm showing you this. It looks like these buttons don't work. So I'll have to fix that. Shit. Okay, so that, this is what the website looks like now. I'm not going to show you what it looked like before, just know that it was worse. The description was out of date. The logo just was an older version of the logo. The background was yellowish and just really looked bad. So that's why I updated that. Let's look at some marketing assets. Let's see. Yes, okay. So I'll make this smaller. So here's some stuff. Here's some logos. And notice how these are all different aspect ratios, and bam. Yep, those are all different. So basically, I have all these source assets, at various sizes, various resolutions, and some have characters, some just have the text, the logo. Here's another one without the sausage background. For different showcases and different websites and stuff, you need people ask you for all these different types of images, and I've been kind of lucky early on in the project. I was kind of lucky when I would keep these Photoshop documents that I would be editing, and it was just lucky that I still had them on my computer or still had them backed up somewhere. But eventually I learned, after I had lost a couple source assets, like Photoshop documents, that it's really important to have these so that when somebody asks you for I need an aspect ratio of 25:4, which is a crazy long thing, you need to be able to make that for sausage. And these colors are weird, so don't worry too much about this. Sometimes when you print, you have to use weird colors, but I needed super wide, or I need super tall, like that. And sometimes the logo just won't work at that aspect ratio, and you have to make a different version of the logo, like this one. Just be aware of that when you can. So that's website stuff. Now I can tell you about this museum looking room that's on my screen. Do. Distracted by Twitter. Let's look at this room. So if I do beta, let me put, what do I want? Adventure. I want adventure here. I'll pop into this room. So the idea of this room is to give you, as the player, a place to look at the thing, like the scale of unlockables in the game. How many hats are there to unlock, how many arenas are there to unlock, how many characters, how many, oh boy, that's busted. How many, what are the things, hats, characters, skins, arenas, yeah, I think that's all of it. But to let you look at the scale of that stuff and how much you have to go, and etc. Okay, so to say, If I disable that, there we go. That looks good. Okay. My frame rate messed up? Not really. Okay. So basically this room is for that, to let you like come in here and look at how much you have to unlock. Like maybe you get a hint of like how to unlock stuff. Maybe you get a hint of what things there are to unlock. So the idea is you would come in here, you walk up to one of these books, and this is still in progress, so it's not done yet. And there would be like the interact icon you might have seen in other parts of the game, and you hold X to like open the book, and then similar to how this book here is like open and in front of you, what I'm planning to have happen is, can I just select this book? So the book will start on the table. When you go to hover it, it'll tween over to your camera like this and kind of like get up in your face. And this will act, this will be set up so it's actually lined up properly. And the book will, animate to open. And then you have this cool UI, and you can like move through it. You can, if there's a scroll list of the things you can unlock, and maybe there'll be silhouettes, then you can do that. And whichever one you're selected, it'll show like the big version of the image and the description of the thing, if it's appropriate. That's what I'm thinking. This is the first pass version of the UI or whatever. But this has been an interesting challenge to work on, because this is like this is an actual UI thing that's in the world. Here it is. Canvas, unlock book. Yes, this is rendered with the Unity UI system, and then I have it's being rendered to this other camera in the scene, and then that's got like there's a script somewhere that's got like a render texture that it's rendering this into, and then that render texture is being fed into a material that's on this book. Not that book. This book. Yeah, that book. Oof. And I feel like I'm creating tons of garbage right now in my first prototype version of this. Oof. Why is the audio manager going nuts? Log string to console. Oh, that'll do it. Let's turn that off. Aha. Am I still getting crazy? There we go. Cool, yeah, back to this weird thing. So what's actually happening here is that there are two books. One's inside the other one. And the back one, is just like the side pages and the cover, and then this one's just the front. And the reason I did this, let's look at Maya, is so that the simple book, it doesn't have the crazy render UI stuff on it, can be like correctly textured, and like I can do like an ambient occlusion bake and make it look cool. But then the front one can like, I can use the UV, I can use the entirety of the UVs. How do I? So this is the normal book. You can see like the UVs are like spread out over the course of the whole thing, so you can get like a good quality ambient occlusion bake. But if I pick that and then drag this into Maya, you can see that my entire, ignore the texture in the back, but you can see that this UV cylinder here, or this UV thing, is just the entire like flat page of the book. And that's so that I can use the entire, I get this entire rectangle just be the UI as a square, because the render texture is going to get, stretched to it. And I don't want to like have to strangely transform my texture into like this little UV space of the front of these pages, if that makes sense. It's just an ease of use kind of thing. If I really wanted to optimize it, I would probably like write a shader that like squishes and moves over, and I would just use the one set of UVs. But I can afford to have another book mesh in memory. It's just like no big deal, especially because I'm in this tiny room and there's not that much stuff in it. So that's the book. That's the idea of the unlock hall. Obviously this is like a prototype and it's not done yet, but it's looking promising right now. Hopefully this UI will get another pass. I think there's only one other thing I want to talk about. Yeah, so the dialogue stuff. When characters talk to you right now, as you saw at the beginning of the PAX demo flow, let's pop back in there. If you'll remember, Scout is talking to you, but there's no scale that down. His mouth doesn't move, there's no like dialogue sounds like Animal Crossing or something. There's no sounds of these emotes when they pop out. That's all something I'm going to do this week. I'm also going to, like I said at the start of this, I'm going to make their mouths move, not necessarily in sync with the dialogue, but probably in sync with the dialogue noises that they'll make, which will be similar to Animal Crossing. Why did I do that? That's weird. What's he trying to say? Oh, so one interesting thing that I added this week that I haven't covered yet is you'll notice that it seems like Scout here is looking at the camera, like looking into the camera, and that's because he is. Oh, I busted it. Scout. Look target. Okay. So what I did here, I might have to open up code to show you this. Shit. How can I? I'll do this in adventure mode on just like an average character. But basically, I figured out that I can like, I have all the characters' bodies work such that all of their along their neck, each one of the skeletons have like a collider on them, and when they wiggle, it's the result of physics resolving the like joints to try to like align themselves with the previous joint down to the hips. Don't worry too much about that, but each one of the pieces of the skeleton is a rigid body that's like free flowing in the world. So if I jump, you can see I kind of like bend to follow, or if I lean, I like bounce back, and they like wobble around a little bit. What I realized is I can tell these joints to like face a certain direction. Like if I want Scout's face to look at the camera, I can tell each of these joints like apply some rotational force to just like face towards that way. And together, all of these, like each joint twisting a little bit, like adds up such that Scout's face can like look pretty far left and right. I would say like maybe like 60, 70 degrees left or right. So let me show you what that looks like. So I have on the player body controller, I have look target as like a transform field. And I could do this as like a float to look left and right, but I found that it's more intuitive to use if it's just like a thing I want to look at. So if I take the camera and drop it in there, oh, it's in another scene. How can I? Here's what I'll do. This is kind of annoying. Look target. I have to do it in code because Unity has this great this great system where in the scene view during a running scene, I can't drag a game object in one scene to be a reference to a game object in another scene, which means I have to do book target instance transform. So what I'm doing here is I'm setting the camera to be the look target of player body controller when it's created. So now you can see that Scout kind of like tries to face the camera a little bit, which is pretty cool because he wants to look at you, the player, and it makes it so when they're playing sports, they're all you're more likely to see their faces, which is the cutest part of them. So that added a lot of I would say realism, but also cuteness to the dialogue system. When I decided to make, when anybody speaks, they always look towards the camera, since they're probably talking at the camera anyway. And the next thing I'm going to do now that I'm done talking about what I did this week, is now I'm going to go through the rest of the characters and add the mouth moving blend that I was talking about. So that when they talk, in addition to looking at you and in addition to the